Hello, Pokerbrandon here, and let me just show you how I played pocket threes in the small blind in this hand. Playing 5-5, no limit hold'em at the Gardens Casino in Hawaiian Gardens, California. So there's going to be a +1 limp, low jack limp, a lot of limp callers at these 5-5 tables, a lot of guys that just want to see flops. Then we get a hijack raise to 20. This guy was a regular, but I found that even though he would open, he would not always c-bet. Very low c-betting frequency percentage. Tight player in the cutoff makes the call. Button folds, and then I think holding threes here just doesn't really make sense to raise. I guess if you want to isolate and get heads up, you can raise and but there's no flop you're gonna like unless you flop a set, so might as well just set mine. Just call and set mine, because even if you hit your set against 6 people at the table, it's still good against one person at the table. Yeah, a little bit too tricky to play pocket threes heads up. But anyway, I make the call, and then 2 more players come in, and we go 6 ways to a flop. Holding a pocket pair as small as like 3s, 2s, 4s, 5s. I think all these hands, you just want to set mine. You don't really want to play too aggressively, because you can get yourself into a lot of trouble. And I know that GTO likes to play these cards, even folding to just 3-bets sometimes, because they're so small. And sometimes set mining, you're just value owning yourself if your opponent hits a bigger set. But anyway, I hit a set 3-4-9 rainbow board. And with 6 players in the hand, I think there's only benefit to checking. It's usually the case that somebody out of the 6 of you is going to bet if it's not you. But in this case, it doesn't happen. And I think good players know not to bet with marginal hands. Very tight-knit players, they know not to get themselves into trouble with single-paired, weak pairs. And that is what the majority of my table was here. You know, the 2 regs and the low jack and hijack cutoff, they're all kind of regular type players. They know not to get in trouble with small pairs. And the big blind was the only new fun guy having a good time. And then there was a new player in the +1 seat who I didn't see before, so I don't know if he's new or reg or what. But after it checks all the way through, I was gonna bet regardless, no matter what turn came. My size regardless was going to be small here. I'm thinking 25 to 33% is going to be a good size. So within 5 seconds of seeing this turn card, I already kind of sized out in my head that I'm going to bet about 25. So that's what I do. Like right when the turn comes, I pick up 25 chips. It takes me about 3 to 5 seconds to put it out there. And then the big blind calls, and then the cutoff after everybody folds raises to 125. The cutoff was a tight player. He was not. His VPIP was like 3%, 4%, 5%. He was not playing very many hands, and he was not raising nothing. If he raised, he had something. The only problem was I didn't know if he had a heart draw or a 9. If he has a bigger set, right, pocket 4s, or let's say he had 9-4 or 9-3 for that matter, I'm just paying him off. I don't care that he's better than me with showdown value. I just try to figure out whether or not he has a 9 or hearts, and how I want to play this with the big blind behind me. I reason that I want the big blind to stay in, because if my cutoff opponent has a 9, then that means the big blind opponent has a flush draw. And a flush draw is dead, so let's keep in the flush draw. So that's what I do. I just make the call, and then the big blind comes in, and we go to a river card. Now the river card is a little bit interesting. So the river is a 2 of hearts. It brings in the straight draw, and it brings in the flush draw. So I tank for about maybe 15 seconds before the big blind checks, and then out of frustration and somebody telling him that it's not his turn, he says, well, I missed anyway, it doesn't matter, it doesn't matter. Clearly it mattered, but he was kind of drinking. He didn't really pay attention to the dynamic, and I saw all that. But the dealer knows the action's on me, and now I'm just trying to wonder, okay, well, if he missed, I don't think he's Hollywooding, right? So what did he miss? So he must have missed a straight draw, because the heart draw hit. So if he doesn't have the heart draw, then maybe my cutoff opponent has the heart draw. But it was just too risky for me to think that, to put my opponent on a heart draw, to check it, and then hope that he bets. I feel like if I just check this, a lot of the time my opponent in the cutoff, if he was betting a 9, he'll just check back. And I didn't want to risk a check back. And my reasoning now is to get as much value as I can based off of the action that happened, and I kind of settle for a jam. I jam because logically I think that after knowing my big blind opponent is ready to give up and doesn't want to put any more money in the hand, I think it kind of doesn't make sense, right? Like if I have a big huge hand that wants to get paid and my opponent wants to fold, why would I want to bet so huge, right? So like that mix match in logic, I feel could make the cutoff call with a 9 if he just had a 9, and even a flush if that's what he was going for. But he ends up folding after about a minute of tanking, and I think it was a mistake for me to. I think I made 2 mistakes here. So I end up winning the pot. This is me winning the pot. I'm just raking in the chips. But I'm a little bit disappointed because if we go back to the spot where I got raised on the turn, I think what I should have done here was, instead of trying to hope the big blind or the other opponent, you could say, stayed in the hand, I should have sort of targeted my opponent who raised me more so than worry about keeping in my other opponent. It was my opponent who raised who had more chips anyway. And I think if I would have re-raised him here, if he's holding a 9, he's not going to want to fold it. He's going to want to call my raise and see a river. And if he has a heart draw, he still may not want to fold. He still might want to call and see a river. So I think in order to get more money in this pot, I should have raised the aggressor cutoff on the turn. Cutoff did a good job not paying me off on the river. He did say he had a 9. He said he had king 9, believe it or not. And I think that is just a good laydown. But I sort of made it easy. I jammed all in on a straight card, a flush card. The board was already paired, so it was so easy to fold in a way. He was not the hero type to try to hero call. So I learned that later on in the session after watching him play more and more. But yeah, so just definitely bad read on the type of guy that he was, and I could have sized down on the river as well. A 9 might still call me. So yeah, 2 mistakes. First mistake, right here on the turn, I should have re-raised him. And then second mistake was my sizing on the river should have been way smaller. The board was just way too scary. The river card was too much of a scare card. What do you guys think? Anyway, I'm Pokerbrandon. I am out, and that is a sneak peek of a little bit of an Anaheim Monster Truck show that I saw today. Anyway.